Welcome to the Source Stacks podcast, presented by YouTubers Insko
and TKC. If you enjoy the podcast, be sure to check out our socials.
and make sure to check out the video versions on YouTube.
Enjoy the podcast. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we are today with Aaron Shirk, our guest of the Source Stacks podcast episode. For anyone that doesn't know exactly who you are, what you do, I guess just give us a little introduction.
My name's Aaron Shirk. I am a producer based out of Virginia, mainly specializing in like the melodic bass, melodic dubstep genre, but really I produce anything. You know, I've done stuff from, dubstep, color bass, house, trap, you name it, pop, country. I pretty much have done it all. Kind of, I want to say, without trying to be that guy or anything, one of the up and comers in the scene and everything. Been having support from guys like Said the Sky, MitiS, Halion, Seven Lions, released on labels such as Heaven Sent, Ophelia, Proximity, Seeking Blue, and
How did you actually initially get into the whole music sort of scene then? Like what inspired you to start making music? How did you kind of start your journey?
Cool. Yeah, so the journey started when I was pretty much a baby. Before I could even walk. Both of my parents are musicians as well, and got degrees in both music education and music performance. So from a very young age, I was just always around music. I was a classically trained musician growing up. I played a ton of instruments and, picked up stuff, started stuff, dropped things, pretty quickly. But to this day, I play piano, saxophone, guitar, and cello. So a lot of instruments and stuff. But I started to play piano when I was 6, and my mom was, my teacher, the one that kind of just got me into everything and get me started with everything, and just been going with music ever since. It wasn't until I was about, I want to say close to 9-10 years old or so is when I really started to get into electronic stuff. And I always love telling this story because I just find it really funny. And the way that I got into electronic music was actually from my dad. And I was in the car with him and he was like, "Hey, I want to show you this song. It sounds really cool. It sounds like a person talking, but it's not. It's a synthesizer." And it was Scary Monsters and Nice Sprites by Skrillex. So my dad introduced me to Skrillex, and that's kind of where, just where it went. And so I was like, dude, this is really cool. And so then, started checking out some of his other stuff, the Bangarang EP and everything, the rest of the stuff on the Scary Monsters and Nice Sprites EP. And then eventually started to find guys like Zed, David Guetta, stuff that's more like the progressive house, that mainstream sound. And then later on finding guys like Millennium, Seven Lions, Porter Robinson, pretty early on. I remember seeing some very early remixes from Seven Lions come out. I remember it was the week his Still With Me remix came out, and that's 2013, 2012, 2013 or something like that. Really, really, really early on. And have just been vibing with it since. It wasn't until I want to say maybe 2015 or so is when I really started to produce music, because I would listen to guys like Zed and Skrillex were the two people that really got me into it. And then, later, like I said, with Millennium, Seven Lions, Said the Sky, a lot of those names is when I really kind of get into the melodic bass, melodic dubstep sound. But Zed and Skrillex were the guys that really got me into it. And that's when I would just open GarageBand, mess with loops and stuff, put it together, and then just, make a song, pretty much just something just really, really simple. And I always really liked doing it. It was always fun. And, my parents would come into my room and would be like, hey, like you've been here for like 6 hours. You're not like, what's going on? Like, what are you doing? And I'm just be like, oh, I'm, just making something on, in Logic or GarageBand or whatever. And being my parents being musicians, I, got really lucky with how supportive they were with just music in general. So like they would do that knowing that I was like skipping homework or, doing whatever. And they would just be like, keep doing that. That's awesome. They just didn't care. So I was like, that's cool. Like, whatever. But like if I were, to be on TV playing like Smash Brothers or something for like 10 minutes, I would get yelled at like instantly. So, yeah, I, got away with messing with music a lot when I was younger. And yeah, just been kind of going with it since then. I think it was around 20, I'd say around like 2016, 2017 is when I really started to take it seriously. I, probably producing for about a year and a half, 2 years or so. And then my dad ended up, buying Logic for me. He's like, hey, I know you're doing a lot of music production stuff, check this out. So started in Logic, started working on a bunch of stuff and mainly producing like progressive house and then melodic dubstep. Those were like the two things that I would like mainly produce. And then once I really started to take it more seriously and actually try to learn like techniques and learn about like plugins and stuff like that, is when my brother was actually just getting to like audition at colleges. I have an older brother who's also a musician, and he just graduated from Eastman School of Music in Rochester last May and is now getting his master's degree at Shenandoah for music performance. So just overall a huge like musical family. So that's why I've been around it. So I knew from like when I was like 10, I was like, I'm going to be doing something musical in my life. I just don't know what. And with like playing instruments and such, I was never really attached to that, like how I am with like music production, because I would practice for maybe 20 minutes at most and just be like, I hate this. Like, I'm tired, bored. Like, I don't want to do this, whatever. Like I said, I could sit on my laptop for 6-7 hours a day, make a song and just be like, yeah, this is cool. I can do this all day pretty much. So I never had issues with producing, but yeah, practicing and stuff never stuck with me. So I knew I wasn't going to be like playing in like a jazz band or like a concert band or something like that. I knew something musical. I just didn't know what. And that was kind of just like figuring out what I wanted to do. I tried getting into theater at one point. I was going to like really get into it, and then I didn't. Thank you. Like, I'm kind of glad I didn't, to be honest. But like at the same time, like some of the stuff is really cool, and everything. Like I do have a lot of respect for it and everything, because it's a very tricky art to like master and everything. So I have a lot of friends that are big into theater, and they're crushing it. They're crazy. So I have a lot of respect for stuff like that. But yeah, when my brother started like touring colleges and stuff, that's when I really got to just start taking it seriously. And it was kind of the moment that it kind of hit me is he was touring at a college called NEC, and that's in Boston. And after we toured NEC, my parents are like, hey, you're into like pop music and like electronic stuff. There's a school that's literally right down the street. It's called Berklee College of Music. Would you like to take a tour there? And, like we're signed up for it. So if you want to go, we can, but if you don't want to, we don't have to. I was like, you know what? Sure. Why not? Did a tour at the school, and I was like, oh my God, I know what I want to do with my life. Like I just like instantly found it. That was like, oh, okay. Yeah. Like music production, like recording, engineering and stuff, like that's it. Just cause like going through like the school's like facilities and stuff, and like seeing all these like crazy studios, and they have like certain studios for like certain things, like a studio like made to like record audio for like movies and doing like Foley and stuff like that. I was like super cool. They had a studio that was, engineered for specifically music to make in like VR, like virtual reality and augmented reality. I was like, dude, this is crazy. Like, this is really, really cool. And that's where I was like, yeah, this is it. So, fast forward 4 or 5 years or so. Ended up getting enrolled into Berklee College of Music, and I only spent a year there and then ended up dropping out. It was funny because I had my first semester there. I was so excited to go, and COVID hit, so I wasn't able to go the semester I was supposed to. So waited an extra semester and went there, and I hated it. I never wanted to leave someplace so fast. And I came back home and I told my parents, I was like, this place sucks. Like, this was awful. Like, I genuinely hate this. And they're like, dude, you spent like 3 months there. Like, calm down. Like, just like give it some time, like go back, and just give it a second chance, meet more people, try to find people that are more like doing your kind of thing. Cause all the people that my friends that were hanging out with that first semester, none of them were really into like electronic stuff. It was all more like the singer-songwriter stuff or like audio engineering. It just wasn't like, no one was making dubstep, or that I found at least. So it took me a while, but then once I went back, still hated it, but it got better. I met a lot of really cool people. Like one of my best friends that I met was Harris. I have mentioned him a bunch. I know you guys have reacted to some of his music, but I found him through Berklee. He approached me. He just slid my DMs one day on Instagram. Was like, "Hey, saw you're at Berklee. You're making some dope stuff. Would love to work with you. Would love to connect." And like I said, he's like one of my best friends now. So, met some really great people. I still talk to all my, college friends, even though it's been, I think close to 3 years now since I, ended up dropping out. Or like, what was it? Yeah, like 2 years. Yeah, 2 years since I dropped out, but I still keep in touch with them. I still talk to them. I still work with some of these people and everything. Nicole Apollonio is another one that I met through Berklee. Incredible vocalist. Like always love working with her, and obviously same with Harris. So Harris and Nicole and I, we have a song together that we're trying to put out. So that's coming eventually. We've teased it a bunch, so hopefully we can get that one out soon. But yeah. I would say that was like a very major part of just like where things were going for me, in a sense of what I wanted to do, like how I was trying to battle music production as well as going to school. And you would think like it shouldn't be that hard because I'm going to a music school. My assignments are literally like writing music and like studying music. But at the same time, it was really tricky because all of it is so different. And a lot of it, in my opinion, wasn't applying to what I was trying to do. And then the stuff that was applying to it, it just wasn't working. It just wasn't going anywhere for it. That's like the main reason I dropped out, is I felt like I just wasn't really getting anywhere with it. Like the first semester I was there, I got like straight A's. But I worked on like no music myself because I was worried about like my grades and everything. Second semester I worried more about my own music and what I was trying to do, and not so much my grades, and all of it just went like straight down. So all my grades went down. I like failed a class or two even. And it was literally just like, there were just times where I was just like, I don't need to sit down and do an English assignment. I'm like trying to like make this career be a thing. And learning, like I was in like, my English class was like a comedy class, and I was just like, I don't need to be studying like comedy and stuff like that to try to get where I want to go. I'm also just not funny, so like I thought it was gonna be like,
you're gonna learn how to be funnier.
Yeah, like I could actually like get like a good sense of humor instead of just like laughing at like a poop joke or something. But no, that didn't help either. So it's just like it was, that class sucked. I hated that class. But yeah, it was just like that was a big juggle. It was just like going through like classes and trying to keep up good grades and stuff, while trying to keep like a release schedule going. And this is at the time when things were really picking up. Like I played my first show. I got to open up for Dabin at a really iconic venue in Boston, and it was like one of the best nights of my life. And I got my first track signed to Ophelia, and in the moment I was like actually crying because that was like my number one dream label.
Yeah.
You know, I've been like 7 Lines has been like the guy for me. We're just like, you know, biggest inspiration, you know, like I look up to him a ton. You know, he's incredible. So to release on his label was seriously a dream come true, and that like meant a lot to me. So a lot of things were, you know, picking up, and you know, working with some bigger names, and you know, seeing a lot of progress in, you know, my own music as well as just like me as a person. And yeah, that was just hard to battle with, you know, the college stuff. So one of the major things that also turned me away from the school was the day I got booked to play this show with Dabin. He literally just put on Twitter, just be like, hey, Boston, looking for an opener, you know, who are some names? And everyone just was tagging me. It was crazy. Like I was having guys like MitiS reach out and be like, dude, like you should book Aaron, you know, the kid's crushing and everything. And at the time I'm just like, whoa, this is nuts. I'm 19 years old, just being like, dude, oh my gosh, like all these big names are like saying I should play this show, and like this is wild. And I got booked less than 24 hours before the show started. So I haven't touched CDJs before in my life, and I'm getting booked to play my first show, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is happening. Like, I actually got to do this. Yeah. So I, you know, made a set and, you know, found some CDJs to work on. Berkeley has like a CDJ lab, which is really awesome. So went in there and was messing around with some CDJs for the first time. And Harris was there too, and he was telling me like, hey, you know, these are how CDJs work, you know, this is what you can do, and blah, blah. Because I have my own decks. I have an XDJ RX2, but I just never touched CDJs before. So I was like, I just need to get behind, you know, decks before I do this for the first time. So did that. And then the day of the show, I emailed one of my professors and just said like, hey, I got booked for this show. It's at House of Blues. I made sure I said House of Blues because I'm like, it's not just some house show like in a basement, because a lot of students do that at Berkeley. So I was like, look, there's going to be like 2,000 people there. Yeah, I was like, look, this is a really big deal to me. I got booked 24 hours before the show even starts. Like, I just need the time to prepare. Hope you can understand. I'll see you next week. Play the show. It was great. Loved it. The next day, I get an email from my professor, and he says, I think you should worry less about doing gigs and focus more on your homework, but that's up to you. And I just kind of sat there. I was just like, I've never been like so disrespected in my life, dude.
Yeah,
like I was so upset. And I sent the email to my parents, and I was just like, I'm coming home after this. Just saying, I'm not going to spend my time here, because if this is how professors and everything are going to treat me, then I don't want to be around here, because I'm at a music school where the whole point of this school is to have all these kids, you know, play like big festivals and be these like huge independent artists, you know, because there are like huge names that come out of this school. Like Charlie Puth is a kid that went to Berkeley and graduated. I mean, dude, look at what Charlie Puth is doing. Set the Sky also went to Berkeley, you know? So there's a bunch of big names that go there that, you know, come out of there and are doing insanely well. And so when I told my parents, I was like, look, if professors are just going to tell me to just kind of like kick rocks, then like, I'm just not going to go. Like, there's no point in me going. So they were just like, yeah, no, that's totally fair. We do not blame you. So they were also very supportive of that. Once again, thank God. Yeah. And to be honest, dropping out was one of the best decisions I've made, because like I said, I feel like I had way more time to work on myself as a person, as well as just like working on music, you know, independently, and not have to worry about not have to worry about as much, you know, just with being in school. Like, I mean, I'm sure you guys know that school is just a nightmare. Like, it's insanely stressful. Like, there's just a ton going on. At the same time, it's great. Like, it's fun. Like, I lived in Boston for an extra year and a half after I dropped out, because I just liked the area and I liked the people that, you know, I was connecting with. So, you know, that's where I feel like I got most out of it. It was really just making connections with the students that went there, not actually like taking classes and stuff. So I feel like certain classes did help me, which overall being a musician, but like, I don't feel like my production, like, you know, my production or anything got better because I went to that school. that's just my personal opinion and just like what I experienced. I know other people have said the exact opposite. And, I'm just like, everyone has different experiences with that kind of stuff. So that was just my experience. I just didn't have a great one. I was just like, I don't feel like going here. And also like tuition's like something stupid, like $70,000-$80,000 a year. So I'm not trying to spend that much on school, dude. So like, it's wild how expensive that school is. So like, yeah, I feel like dropping out is huge. I think that overall, just because we're kind of like talking about this, I feel like music school is something that it can be very helpful, but it's not for everyone. It's something that, you can get a lot out of, but also depends on what you're trying to get out of it. What are you trying to do with your life with music? And, what are your goals pretty much? For me to be like, say like, hey, I'm trying to be like a touring artist or whatever. I wouldn't say it's like it's super important. I can learn a lot from it for sure and make really good connections and everything. But where like if I wanted to be like a studio musician or like an audio engineer or something like that, that's where I feel like it would be way more helpful for a school like Berkeley, because a lot of that is hands-on mixing, mastering, any kind of song you can think of, working with some of the best, musicians in the scene. And, you're living in a studio pretty much 24/7. And, for me, I just didn't get that kind of experience. And that's what I thought it was going to be. And unfortunately it wasn't. That's why I was just like, well, not for me, I guess. But, yeah, that's where I stand. It's kind of, music school is a good thing, but it's not for everyone. So it's kind of my take on that. So
you gave us a lot to work with, man. You gave us a lot to work with. Yeah. But yeah, I guess kind of on that like similar note of, clearly you had like going back to what you said, you have your inspirations in EDM. Obviously you have, David Guetta, you have Zed, you have Skrillex and all that. I know just from knowing you definitely have your fair share of inspirations outside of EDM. So I guess if you kind of want to go over like, the inspirations you kind of have outside of EDM. And I guess another point as well is like generate, like if you use that to generate inspiration, kind of if you're going through writer's block and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So majority of music that I'm listening to right now is not EDM. I rarely listen to EDM actually right now. And it's not because I have anything against that. Obviously I love it. Trying to make a career out of it, so yeah. It's great. And, but majority of what I'm listening to right now is just other stuff like hip hop, rap, like punk, emo stuff. Also, I mean, I pretty much listen to anything, to be honest. And a lot of electronic stuff that I've been listening to right now, honestly, isn't in that like melodic bass or the stuff that like I really make. It's more of like tech house or, like crazy, like tear out, or sometimes like trap and stuff like that. So I listen to a lot of things, but yeah, majority of the stuff I listen to right now just isn't electronic music. And I find that's actually where, for me personally, that's where like some of the best inspiration I've got from is stuff that's outside of EDM, because for me, songwriting is like the number one thing. Like that's at the top of my list where like this needs to be perfect, push like mixing, sound design, all that stuff off to the side for a little bit. I feel like what really sells a record or, just music in general is that if the songwriting is like killer, like, all the other things don't matter as much. You can take like, I don't know, let's say everyone's favorite song, Worlds Away by Dabin.
Yeah.
That song's like close to perfect, if not perfect, because, and for me, like, I'm honestly not really crazy about just like the overall song. I'm going to be that guy. That's my hot take where I'm like, it's a good song. I just don't go to listen to it a lot. I think I listened to it like 2 times this year or something like already. So like, I just rarely listen to it, but like the songwriting on that song is like near or like pretty much perfect. It's really tough to beat that song. And like Dabin, Said the Sky, and like in the EDM world, I feel like those are like the top guys when it comes to songwriting, because they just crush it every time. Even if it's a song that I don't really like I can listen to this, I'm like, yeah, the songwriting on this is just killer. Like it's just fantastic. And they can do like so many genres like really well. Like that's what I think is really cool, is just when artists are able to do like, you know, multiple genres and it's all really well. You know, because obviously like every artist like specializes in like that one sound, but as soon as they're able to step away from that one sound, but it still sounds like them and it's still really well, that's where I'm like, dude, like that's, you know, that's where it is. But that's where I think that whole like just songwriting comes in. That's why it's so important. But like, and for me, just going back to like what you were asking, like, I feel like majority of the songwriting inspiration I'm pulling from is from these like punk emo tracks or even like hip hop beats, you know, even stuff like country and like Christian music, dude. There's like, I pull a lot from that. I mentioned this one time. There was when we did the stream for when the My Dreams EP came out. I told a story about how one of the songs on that EP was inspired by Sweet Home Alabama. It just straight up. That's how that. One song started. The waking up at midnight. Yeah. That song literally started because of Sweet Home Alabama. Like on my guitar. So like, you know, there's like even just like really like crazy things like that is where I think like a lot of really good ideas came for some stuff. Like there's, like I said, like a lot of like Christian music I've actually like listened to. And I'm just like, dude, like the guitars in this are really good, or just like melodies and stuff. I'm just like, dude, they're super solid, like really, really good. And, you know, I have like stolen like chord progressions or, you know, like listen to like how those melodies work and try to replicate that and then turn it into like a melodic bass tune or whatever. And then like in the finished product, I'm just like, dude, this is killer. Like, this is awesome. I'm really digging this right now. So, you know, and was it like another one that I've mentioned a billion times is Owl City. I have always loved Owl City. You know, that was one of the first artists I listened to before like Skrillex and stuff like that. I was, you know, big into Owl City. The Ocean's Eyes album, it's fantastic in my opinion. The one with Fireflies and everything, Vanilla Twilight, all that stuff. All the old Owl City to me is like great. Also part of it is just nostalgia, and I just love nostalgia stuff. But yeah, just pulling inspiration from other artists and other genres I feel like is very important, and just like you know, stepping outside of like your comfort zone and just something that you normally wouldn't listen to, really, and seeing, you know, and trying to analyze like, okay, why are they writing it, you know, like this? Why are they using these kind of sounds? And, you know, why is it working? And that's where I feel like a lot of artists can take stuff from that and put it into one of their songs or, you know, one of their creations. Because I feel like that can create a really unique sound. Just something that's like really fresh, really new. And just be overall just like more creative. So
yeah, nice. You were saying like briefly about the inspirations for the EP and stuff, so I feel like that's a great way to kind of segue into talking a little bit about the My Dreams EP. So what was like the whole process behind all of that being like your first proper EP? I'm sure you've got loads of stories to kind of talk about that. Also like the meaning behind it as well. If you just dive into that a little bit. With
the My Dreams EP, that was the second EP that I made. The first EP was called the Nature EP, and that was just that was my first ever release that I put on like streaming platforms, but that was literally just like 5 songs that I just took together and say, okay, here's an EP, boom, there it goes. Just 5 random songs, you know, just like a little like collection that I just had sitting on my computer. But with My Dreams EP, that was the first body of work that like had like a story, and like all of the songs felt cohesive and everything and had like a meaning behind it. All of just like nostalgic things, those are big for me. That's just where I pull a lot of inspiration stuff. That's why I listen to like, that's why I really like the old like Owl City stuff. You know, big fan of like the old Skrillex, old Seven Lions, Millennium, Set the Sky stuff. Like, I'm just big on that. But like what I was saying is like, You know how like, have you guys ever like cleaned your room and you like have gone under your bed and like while you're cleaning, like you pull out something, you're like, oh my gosh, dude, like I forgot like I had this.
Yeah.
And then you think about like the 80,000 memories that you have attached to like a Hershey's Kiss or something like, you know? So, you know, that was kind of the inspiration on like the like instrumentals mainly when it came to, you know, the EP. It was just having that like nostalgic memory and kind of like something that obviously sounds new, but also feels like something that kind of is like you feel like attached to it. It sounds new, but you feel like you've known it also for like a very long time. And you know, once we started, you know, getting like vocals for all the songs and talking to Jonathan Plummer, who's the guy that wrote the title track, My Dreams, you know, he came up with the title being like My Dreams. And instantly I was like, this is perfect. Because I told him, I was like, I really want to have that like Owl City kind of sound to it in a way. And, you know, when he was writing it, I was like, we're nailing this like perfectly. And that's when I really wanted to start to build an EP around that track as well. And to have this just like floating in like a dream sequence kind of feel for this project. I mean, yeah, it's kind of all I have to really say about it, to be honest. Just having that like just like dream sequence and, you know, the floating nostalgic feel to it. I just try to have that with like every song. It's not just that project as well. It's like every song tries to have that like kind of like throwback feel as well, but still sounds new and fresh. But has that like nostalgic feel to it. So that's all I just wanted to add.
Well, I think kind of on a previous topic that you were talking about before as well, where you were discussing, you know, going outside of your comfort zone and stuff like that. I feel like with some of your new stuff, you've kind of done that as well, where you've gone outside your comfort zone and you've made some different subgenres and stuff like that. I guess like the big thing would be like, how has that process kind of been, where it's, you know, like where you were making something like Alive and you were like, I want to do psytrance and like dubstep on this track for an example or something like that. I guess like kind of during that era where you did that EP, like what was the kind of thought process that you had, and overall, what was the experience kind of just trying some new stuff like that?
For sure. So a lot of it was being pushed by my manager at the time. And my manager at the time was Andrew Verbees. Love the guy to death. And he helped me a ton with just getting out of like the, hey, stop making every song be 140, 145 BPM, melodic bass with a big chord stack and the square lead. Like, get out of that, do something different. And I was like, yeah, you know, I probably should, even though I like it a lot. But just with trying new stuff and, you know, new genres and everything, I feel like a big thing with that is, you know, a few things. One of them being working with artists, you know, working with other artists, I feel like is something, it's really special. And I feel like there's way more to it than a lot of people would, you know, really think. But like, having someone else attached to, you know, whatever you're making, they have a completely different thought process, obviously, on how they want to go about making a song, and, you know, what kind of ideas can they put together into, you know, your creative idea. And then you can build off of that, and you just kind of keep going back and forth, trading these ideas to, you know, build something that you guys are really happy with. And with Alive, with that song specifically, Meds and I have been great friends for the past, how many years? Like 4 or 5 years. Love those guys. And I was talking to Charles and one of the older brother in the duo, and I told him, I was just like, hey, you know, for the next tune, because we were starting to work on this song already, I was like, I really want to do something different. Like, we did like a melodic bass tune before. Like, obviously we can keep it in that style, but it needs to have something different about it. It can't just be a melodic bass song. You know, it needs to be something like really special about it. So when we were working on it, we were really trying to just experiment and try different things. And one of the first drop that it never made the cut, it didn't didn't make it into the final song, but like one of the very first like early versions of it was kind of like I don't really know how to describe it. It like this style was like really popular for us all like 6 months, but it was kind of like slap house basses, but at like 140, 150 BPM. Like if you guys know the song Be There by Cruella, it kind of has that.
Doesn't ring a bell.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's
I'm not too sure.
It's kind of like some like Jack U stuff in a way. But it's literally just like those like donk basses, if that's what you want to call them, just with like dubstep drums pretty much. So we were trying to do something like that, and we both really liked it. I was actually loving it. I was like, this is really cool. Like first time trying something like this, and this was fun. And then I sent that to Meds, and then they added like the melodic bass drop, which is the now first drop in Alive. When I heard that, I was like, okay, scrap the first drop that we have. We need to build around this because this is really cool. And when we did that, that was definitely when we tried to make everything more like aggressive. Like the original version that they made was a lot more lighter. It still had that lead. It was a little bit slower, a little bit of a lighter like chord stack, drop and everything. And then that's where I was like, no, we just need to make this like go crazy. So speed up the BPM a little bit, more aggressive drums, more aggressive saws and everything. And as I was working on that, that's where I was like, oh, dude, we should do dubstep. That's something that we haven't done before. Like, let's try something. Let's try something new. So I've always worked on heavy stuff. I've always liked that. But for Meds, that was like new territory for sure. So I was just like, dude, we just got to try this. And they're just like, down, let's do it. So, I started working on something. I started working on drop, sent some ideas, and they're like, dude, this is crazy. We love this. And then once we finished the heavy drop, we were in a Discord call working on this together. And we kind of looked at each other because when we were working on this, we were making with the intentions of sending it to Ophelia. So we're kind of just like, oh, we need to make this so like Ophelia like can't pass this up. And with that in mind, we both kind of like looked at each other like in the camera, smiled, and we just started nodding, and we're just like, psytrance.
Yeah.
Yeah, psytrance, because this is also what we're talking like we're in like 2021 when the song started or something like that. So like that's when the psytrance on Ophelia was like really like kicking and everything. We're like, oh, we should do that. So that's when we were like, oh, okay, let's like try making some psytrance. And this was like also like right after I finished making Alone with Starseed and Cyber and Mega York. So already have like some of that like psytrance, experience, and got a lot of feedback from both Starseed and Cyber with working on that. And so then that's when we started, making the psytrance and really building it and everything. And so fun fact, Ophelia actually took the song. They wanted it. They wanted to put it on their Advent series, but both Meds and I were like, hey, we really want to like try to make this a single. And Proximity was also interested, and they said that they wanted to make it a single, so we ended up going with Proximity instead. That obviously that's where like Crystal Clear and the rest of the EP went. So I sent them a big pack of stuff, and Proximity actually asked to do an album with me, but I was like, let's chill on the album, do some singles and an EP, and we can call it a day. So that's what we ended up doing. But it worked. Our intentions of trying to get it on Ophelia, it worked technically, but like it didn't end up getting put out. But that's a lot of inspiration came from just like talking in Meds and just being like, hey, we just need to try to do something different, stepping outside that comfort zone, trying to be as creative as possible and still make something that sounds like us, that's not like this is like insanely different. Like there's like you can have different, but there's also like too different,
Yeah, totally.
So it's like we're not trying to go like too different, but just like this obviously like works for our our brands, our sounds and everything. So But I feel like working with artists is huge when it comes to stepping outside that comfort zone and making something different. That also goes back to pulling inspiration from like other genres and stuff, and that can help you be way more creative, try something new, and just make just something entirely different. So
I think like you basically answered like a whole other question that we have on here as well, which is nice. So I suppose like talking of collaborations, you've done like a fair bit with both vocalists and producers as well. Is there one instance in mind that you would say like has a really memorable story, maybe something that's like maybe something funny, maybe something that was just like really great or anything like that? Just like one random one that maybe comes to mind. putting you on the spot.
Yeah, no, that's what. So like, that's what I was kind of mentioning. Just like every time it's special. There's always something really cool attached to it. Like writing Used to Love and Alive with Meds was a ton of fun. Same with Alone with Starseed. Obviously, the new tune that just came out, Something to Hold On To. Working with Starseed and Sarah Benio, that one was incredible. I've talked about this before, so I don't mind going deep into it because this song isn't out yet. But there's a song that I have with my good friend Affinity, who's a former member of the band Pixel Terror. So there's a song with him and the vocalist Run. And with that song, just talking with Affinity, that dude has helped me so freaking much with helping me get out of like the comfort zone and like try something new, as well as just like improve overall, like with, being, a producer. So when we started talking, I sent him this idea and I was just like, hey, like, what do you think of this? And he's like, this is insane. I love this. Like, I would love to work on it. And I was like, whoa, okay, cool. Like, nice. I can't believe like you actually like this much. This is awesome. And he sent something back and I was just like, whoa. I was like totally like blown away. And this is obviously before like when Affinity and I before we like really started talking a lot, and we're like best friends now pretty much. We know like everything that we work on and everything. So he's he's shared his EP with me, a super long time ago, and I've been listening to it nonstop. We constantly share ideas with each other. But this was like one of the first like unreleased things I heard from him. I was just like, dude, this is really good. And when we were working on it, I was just like, oh, I'd like to get like a really like big name vocalist on this, because I really work with like smaller ones like by myself, but usually with collabs I try to get someone that's like I said, just like a bigger name. And we talked and I was like mentioning some names. He's like, a lot of these I've been working with right now, like Dia Frampton, he's worked with a bit, Casey Cook. And so I was mentioning these names and I was like, well, okay, we just need to find a name of like a vocalist that we both really haven't worked with before. And so I was like, have you ever done anything with Run? And he's like, no, but I want to work with her like really badly, so we should do a song with her. So I was like, yeah, like, yeah, please. So, so we ended up getting in touch with Run and she got on the song, and obviously talking with Run has been incredible because I've been listening to her for forever, like with all like the older stuff that she did with like Seven Lions, Millennium, and everything like that. I've been listening to her since, Calling You Home. Was it Freefall is the one that she did with Millennium, I'm pretty sure?
Yeah.
Freefall. So like, been listening to her since those songs came out, and so like getting to work with her is like incredible. I was just like, dude, this is like one of those things where I was just like, Lil Aaron would not believe I would be working with this with this name. So that was like just like one of those like little personal things where I was like, this is really cool. I get to work with this person now. And like I said, talking with her, she's been incredible. We found out we actually have a lot in common. We actually both went to Berkeley, dropped out after a year. We were both homeschooled our entire life and everything. So and just talking about like the song that we have in the works, and just like views on just like the songwriting aspect of everything and everything. What am I saying? Songwriting aspect of everything. Definitely have like similar tastes and opinions in that. And so, yeah, just working on that one. It's not done yet, which, is, that story is still kind of building too. But, that one I'm really excited for, and that one definitely means a lot to me. So like I said, it's really tough because like all those songs really mean a lot to me, especially when they're collaborations with other people. So it's all of them hold like a special story, but I would say like that one's kind of like the newest story, and obviously like I said, the one that's like still kind of building and everything. So that's one I'm definitely really excited for.
Well, yeah, I think when you, at the end of the day, when you're working with someone that you consider, one of your best friends nowadays and a vocalist that you've always wanted to work with, I think exactly, obviously it makes sense that collaboration would mean a little bit more. I guess talking future wise though, like you've mentioned that you have a new EP coming out. I guess one of the big questions that we can ask is, what can the fans expect from this? You know, what's the story behind how it even came about? And kind of what sound that you kind of want to portray with this new EP.
Yeah. I'm really freaking excited about this EP, man. I'm smiling just like thinking about it kind of thing. It's just like, so with this EP, it's different. It's really different. It still has that melodic sound in it, but I'm not saying it's a melodic bass EP or anything like that. This was definitely something where I was just like, I really want to do something different, but I want to do something different, like just very, very different. Really step outside my comfort zone and just try a ton of new things, ton of new techniques, and see where I can go with this. And so in a way, I kind of am thinking of this as like a little bit of like a spin-off EP, because with this one, just with how different it is, it just doesn't match like any of like my previous sound in a way. Like it for sure does, but it's just different enough where like I could almost put this under like a different alias in a way, but I just don't want to do that. I want this to be under my name. And part of the reason why is because I kind of want to just like show that ability that I can just do a lot. And really like I said, just step outside comfort zone, really try new genres and stuff like that. So that's what this EP pretty much is, just really stepping out and trying a lot of new genres and stuff like that. But yeah, I literally just wanted to create a creative project that like people can listen to this and they're just like, where the hell did this come from? It's literally was like the point of this EP. And then as, starting to like write all these songs, I was thinking, okay, like what can I do to make this, fit into like the brand and everything like that. And pretty much like the last EP, My Dreams, was all about that like, like dreamscape, dream sequence or whatever, the floating, like feel good nostalgia vibe. This is like the exact opposite. And that's why I'm really excited about it, is because like, it's just different. And that's the, I don't know how else to explain, but besides just like, I've shown some of the stuff to people and they're just like, whoa. Like, I remember like I showed some stuff to Skybreak actually. And I was talking with him. I was like, oh, like I'm working on, some stuff. I think you really like this. And I showed it to him. He's like, where the hell did you learn all this, dude? Like, this is crazy. And so like, that was kind of like one of the first things where I was like, dude, I'm actually getting like really excited about this. And, I just mentioned yesterday, like the day that we're filming this, yesterday, I made an announcement saying like, it's done. And I sent it to my manager yesterday, and he texted me like literally like 10 minutes before we got on a call here. He texted me. He's like, I just listened to the EP and holy shit, you crushed it. So like I was just like, okay, like this is, I'm really excited about this. So yeah, it's something totally fresh. I feel like it's going to be one of those things where it's like, it's still going to have that like Aaron Shirk sound to it, but it's going to bring a completely new kind of sound to it, reach a completely different audience. I feel like it's going to be one of those things where people are either going to love it or they're going to absolutely hate it and just be like, what is this kid doing? But, for me, I love this. I honestly think it's my best work. And, it's, I don't know. I really don't know what else to say besides I'm just really freaking excited, man. Like I'm stoked. Like I'm proud of myself for working on, this project because, with all these songs, like I listen to it, I'm just like, I can't really believe I made this. And I'm trying to think about like when I started these songs and I'm just like, I don't have like too many memories attached to like how I went about making them. More so just like, they're at the stage they are now, and I'm just like, wow, like the mindset I had when making this was very different and really trying something New. I want a freaking counter somewhere that says how many times I just said different, new, or like whatever since this question, bro. Because that's all I'm saying.
Maybe we can get one for you.
Yeah, I don't know how to. I don't know how else to describe it. Besides, just like, yeah, it's different.
The fans can expect different, really safe cool. to say the least. Yeah.
It's very different.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You can tell you're excited about it. Definitely, like. The amount of times you're like grinning, like talking about it and all that stuff. So
it's cool, bro. Like, I feel like that's a big thing where, like, you know, when you can listen to like your own music and you can get excited about that, I feel like that's a really important part because, like, you know, every producer's been there where it's like they listen to their own stuff or other people listen to their stuff and they like cringe or like, I can't stand it like when people listen to my music or whatever. Yeah. And like with this, like I am really excited for other people to listen to it because especially like you guys when you guys do like these like reactions and stuff like that, like I'm really excited for you guys to like see these reactions and just, you know, see what you guys have to say about it. But yeah, like I said, I'm just proud of this, you know, proud of this body of work. You know, it's nothing like massive, and I'll say it's not like, I'm not saying like it's like an album that's going to be like 10 tracks or something like that, but like it's just something that, as I said, different, new, you know. So like it's just, yeah, I'm proud of myself for just stepping outside that comfort zone, trying something new after, you know, because I feel like a lot of people consider me like one of those like melodic bass producers, you know, that kind of has that like Ophelia sound to it. So I feel like this is going to be one of those things where they're going to listen to this and like, oh, it's not just like a melodic bass guy, like he can do like almost everything. So yeah, no, I'm really excited about it. I have no idea when it'll come out. I wish I could say. But yeah, I'm really excited to play some of it live. I haven't played really any of it live yet. So I'm excited to play it live for the first time whenever shows, you know, start to come back up. But yeah, it's just cool. It's really cool because it kind of builds off of the story also from the last EP too. Like I said, like that's like the that's like the really feel good, dreamy stuff, and this one's just pretty much like the opposite. So it's kind of like the part 2 to that EP. I don't mind. Do I? Yeah, I don't mind name dropping it. The last EP was called My Dreams, and this one's called My Nightmares, and that's why I'm like really excited about it because it's like, you know, like the next chapter of, you know, that kind of sequence. So yeah, I feel like it's definitely gonna confuse some people though, for sure. It's gonna confuse some people, but I'm excited about it. So
that's a good thing though. It means it keeps it interesting all the time, kind of like gives new expectations. I feel like when artists kind of go out of their comfort zone and explore of like more what they can do and discover more what they can do, it kind of evolves their sound a bit more, I feel like, and just gives them a bit more of like a interesting name, I feel like. But yeah, going back to like you briefly mentioned about shows there, I feel like we could dive just a little bit into shows briefly. Like you've opened for Dabin, as you said, also MitiS and Said the Sky as well. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? So like how that came about, what that was like for you?
Yeah, so how all this came about was we just kind of reaching where these shows came up and they're just like, hey, do you need a guy? Like I'm a guy, I could play a show. So, you know, and thankfully these guys were able to give me a chance at, you know, doing this. And now I can say like I've, you know, have talked and like worked with these guys, which is also incredible because like I said, I've looked up to like a lot of these guys a ton and, you know, listened to them since like 2014, you know, 2015. Like MitiS was one of the first guys I found in that like melodic dubstep sound. So to be working like and like talking with them, I'm just like, dude, this is nuts. Like that's crazy. And he's such a nice guy too, you know. Same with like all those guys, like Said the Sky, Dabin, like they're incredible people. They're just, yeah, they have all been like super, super humble and like super like welcoming and, you know, super kind and everything. So I appreciate them a ton. I can't thank them enough, seriously, for giving me like these little opportunities to just play a show with them and just talk with them. But I feel like when it comes to like live shows, like that's just like a different level of just like meaningful to like listeners and like artists and like kind of building like that connection between people. Because I've had so many people like message me, I play a show and they message me and they're like, hey, I had no idea who you were, but like you have like a top fan now. Like I can't believe how well like your set was, and like all the music that was like original music was incredible. Been listening to you now like a ton, and just can't wait to see like where you go. And so like getting those kind of messages are just like, dude, what? Like it's like crazy to me every time. Because like I said, I was like 14 sitting in this room just being like, it would be cool to like do something like that one day. And it happened, and playing for like in front of like 1,000 people, and it's just like, dude, what? Like it's crazy. And I'll never take that for granted too. Even if I'm playing like freaking like SoFi Stadium, doing like my own like trilogy kind of thing, I will never take that for granted that people are, going out of the way to, listen to my music or, come to a show or just anything like that. That's always just like insane to me. The Set the Sky show, when I did that in Boston, that was probably like the most meaningful one for me, because the crowd energy on that was just insane. There was so many people that came up to me afterwards and were just like, dude, you're incredible. Meeting Trevor, meeting Set the Sky, like that dude is incredibly nice. Just getting to talk to him about, music, got to show him like some stuff that I was working on, and, he was really liking it. That show just felt like just incredibly special. And, it's kind of hard to explain why it felt special. It just did. Like, it just felt natural. It just felt right. I look back at like those videos and stuff, and I'm just like, yeah, that's where like I'll look back at it, I'm like, that's what I'm supposed to do in life. I don't know why. I know that's what I'm supposed to do. And yeah, it was just perfect. It was literally just perfect. I felt like my set was one of the best sets that I played. I had a lot of diversity, a lot of new stuff, and that one was definitely very special. So, like I said, all those shows are special. It's the same thing with like collaborations. Like every show is special in its own way. Whether it's the kind of venue you're playing with, or the kind of crowd you're playing for, who's on support, who's on the lineup and everything. It's just one of those things where you kind of think about like, hey, people are going out of their way to have a good time, expect good music, and being able to provide that, and have give them like the night of their life, or anything like that, is just just something that's just really, really meaningful and really special. And like I said, I just will never take that stuff for granted. So,
well, yeah, no, it definitely speaks volumes, I think, when you're playing, especially support for someone that you've like looked up to for so long, like MitiS, Said the Sky, and Dabin. Like these are all people that are like huge pioneers of the sound, and definitely would be, I can imagine, would be special for sure. But yeah, I think that's a pretty good way to end off. I think if you have any other things that you kind of, maybe if you got one more thing you want to say to the fans, kind of as a send off, we'll give you the limelight here.
So, as a little send off, obviously, thank you to you guys for having me on. This was a ton of fun.
Yeah.
I always love sitting down and talking to people just about, music or just life and whatever. So this is the first time I kind of got to do something like that for like a podcast or whatever. So
yeah,
appreciate you guys a ton. Obviously, with you guys being, the reaction guys or whatever you want to say, you guys being like pretty early supporters as well, to where I am right now has also been, massive. You guys have definitely helped me get into the scene as well, and like just get into like the community. And like obviously, like I try to hang out with you guys in in your communities as much as possible, because you guys have really incredible communities, and like all these guys that you have really dedicated fans, and that's like why I find like so cool. So obviously, thank you to you guys for just listening to stuff, making the videos. I always love watching it. Like I can't lie, dude, like if there's ever a day that like I don't see a reaction from you guys, or like you're not able to stream or like make a video or whatever, it like genuinely makes me sad. It genuinely makes me sad, where I'm just like, damn it, dude, I really want to see this.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I said, like I'll never take for granted like with like anybody. Like another guy, Mox Jade, does that where he does like the new Music Fridays, you know, on Instagram and everything. I always love seeing those reactions and everything. So yeah, obviously big thank you to you guys. And to no problem. To the rest of the fans, obviously I appreciate you guys listening. You know, you guys tuning into this as well. I'm very excited to share all this new body of work. There's a lot of melodic stuff as well as a lot of different stuff that's, you know, in the works. So hopefully we can get that out as soon as possible. You know, some really cool remixes, some really cool originals as well. So I'm excited for it. I hope you guys are too, obviously. And yeah, I'm just really stoked to see where everything goes. So, and then I have one more thing, and it's a question for you guys, actually.
Sure.
This is called the Saw Stacks Podcast. So I need to ask, what do you think is the best Saw Stack? Like, best Saw Stack in a song? Artist who has possibly the best Saw Stacks? Like,
I know mine already. I'll let Insko. I can let Insko go first.
I think
most people know mine. Like,
I think I know yours.
Mine. I've made my favorites sound very obvious, but I would pick either Last Heroes, Love Like Us, Last Heroes, Trifecta, Waiting for You, or Last Heroes, Naked Soul. Anything that Last Heroes did in 2020, just top tier sound. I've said before, I said in my community recently, I was like, if the Last Heroes 2020 sound comes back even for one song, I will do a 24-hour stream. And I'm waiting, and I will hold that accountable. I will hold myself accountable to that. So
I don't really know for me. I mean, like, there's so many different sort of artists and songs I feel like I like in terms of melodic bass. I feel like it's one of those genres that kind of you have to keep it evolving a bit to keep it interesting. Mm-hmm, like sometimes I'll be reacting to certain songs and be like, oh, it feels a bit sort of samey, which is why it kind of gets a bit of a lower rating. I think like one song that I'll always love, and I think it's just because it was sort of like a dream collab for me, I suppose, is the Elenium Nurko Sideways.
Yeah.
I think like just I heard like Nurko played it at like some drive-through festival when he like announced it on like a live stream, and I was up at like 3 a.m. watching it on my phone, and when I heard it on that, I just loved it from that moment. And then I listened to it, and it was just one of those songs that I think I'll always love, just not only for the names on it, but I also just think it's a really great song. So I think that's definitely one. I can't really think of any others off the top of my head, to be honest, but I'm sure there's loads. But that kind of thing,
it's hard,
for sure.
Dude, it's hard to pick. Like, because I think about this all the time. Where like, even for me, dude, it's hard for me to like pick like a favorite song. If I had to pick one, it's probably Island, to be honest. But like,
it's a good one,
dude. I mean, like, yeah, like obviously, like Love Like Us, Waiting for You. I really like Last Heroes See the End remix. That one's great. That one's great. That one's really, so good. Really good.
Yeah.
Obviously, like there's some 7 Lines stuff like Calling You Home. Stuff like Strangers. You know, the older stuff, but also like newer one, like Stop Thinking has been a favorite of mine. So there's a lot of really good ones. That's what's really tricky about it. So if I had to say favorite song, would probably be Island. But like for me, if I had to say like favorite like chord stack, probably would have to go with either. Dude, like that's what I'm saying.
It's
like,
a tough question. It's a
really tough question. I would say either Crystal Sky's remix of Blink or Dimensions by Last Heroes, because that was the first Last Heroes songs I heard, and I was
anything like, Last Heroes is just really good.
They're really good with it, dude. They're really good with the chord stacks. So Brian and Garen are goated with it.
They are, dude. They are. What else can we say?
Hopefully we could get him on at some point. I know Caden will be fangirling the whole time.
Oh yeah, that would be a good one.
Me and Brian are chill, so I'm sure I wouldn't have an issue getting him on. But
yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, we'll call it there. But thank you, man. Thank you for all the kind words, and you know, the little question that incited a little bit of discussion at the end. I think that was super fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you guys are listening, thank you guys for tuning in and whatnot. Aaron Shirk's media, social media, Spotify, SoundCloud, all that will be in the description of the YouTube. And be sure to check us out on Instagram and social media as well. And obviously me and Insko's channels and whatnot. So thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Thank you.